All right, so since the release of the game, the comment that I've gotten over and over again is for me to go ahead and make a shovel guide. So in today's video, we're going to be going over not only what shovels I went through in order to be able to get to the point that I am in today, being level 83, but I'm also going to give you a couple of different paths that you can take, optional paths as well. So go ahead, get comfortable, and let's waste no more time and get right into this. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. We have more dig videos coming, so let's get into this. Now, of course, to start things off, we are here at Foxtown because this is where you will go ahead and spawn in when you first jump into the game. While the next thing that I'm going to tell you is not exactly a shovel, it is something extremely important that you should all do, even if you have already put in like 10 hours into the game, even though not really, you probably already have this. But anyways, it's really important to go ahead and complete Arthur's tutorial, not because the information is important, but rather because throughout that tutorial, you will receive a free map. Do not make the same mistake that I made and ignore the tutorial, meaning that I had to spend a unnecessary 1,000 cash to buy the map. And now if you look in my inventory, I have 2 maps. So I sort of want to just start off right there because it's very important as we go ahead and move forward that you don't spend that unnecessary 1,000. Now, of course, the first starting stages is pretty straightforward. You're going to be spending a lot of time here at Foxtown. Obviously, at the end of the tutorial, you'll have yourself a training shovel. From there, you'll move on to the rock shovel. And then from the rock shovel, you can go ahead if you would like to and purchase the lucky shovel. Do I recommend it? No, not at all. If you take a look in my inventory, I do not own the lucky shovel because I never actually purchased it. That is something that I completely skipped over, and it is something that you can do as well because the stats here are really not that different except for the fact that one has more luck, and that's pretty much it. You don't really need that, at least not in the starting stages. So let's assume that now you've got yourself a rock shovel and you're ready to move on to the next one. From Foxtown, we're going to go ahead and travel down here, make a right, and head on over to Cinder Shores because this is the next area where you're going to be focused on your next shovel. So basically, just come over here to where the huts are, and inside of this right one, you're going to find the ruby shovel. This bad boy right here is going to be your best friend for quite some time. It costs a total of 6,500 cash, and for that price, the stats are actually really useful. Currently, I don't own it, mainly because when I did start the game, I was part of the early access people, so I instantly started the game with 20,000 cash, which is perfect for our segue right now because we're going to go ahead and transition over to the next shovel. I do want to go ahead and give you guys a quick little reference point in regards to the ruby shovel. Right now, we are at Cinder Shores. This is exactly where you will find that if you're looking through the map. But now for the next location, we're going to be talking about the jam shovel. This is exactly what I used when the game first released, and then when it was nerfed, I did switch on over to a different shovel, but that's a thing of the past. The nerf is not relevant anymore because the jam shovel is back to normal, and as a matter of fact, it's actually even better with the most recent Blood Moon update. For this one, we're heading to Verdant Vale right over here. Specifically, let me place a waypoint. We're going to be heading to this point right here. So let's go ahead and make our way over there, and we'll talk a little bit more once we get there. All right, so as soon as you enter inside of Verdant Vale, you're going to look for basically these 2 silos right here. Right next to that, you will find this NPC with basically a jam stall. If you're new to the game, there's something extremely important that you need to keep in mind about the jam shovel. It's pretty much the first time that you're going to experience something like this, but it's something that you need to keep in mind and learn as you progress further into the game because you will experience this in other shovels later on down this list. The price of this shovel is 20,000 cash. But I do not recommend that you buy this until you have a total of 22,200 cash. The reason for this is because Jam Shovel is pretty much the first one that you're going to experience that has a charm synergy. If you see here in my inventory, I have the Jam Shovel right there, and on the left-hand side, there is a diamond. If we click on that diamond, it says inactive right now because I don't have the charm activated, but at the bottom, it mentions that you will gain +2 haste as well as +3 strength if you have the Jar of Jam or the Jar of Peanut Butter active. As mentioned before, here is the Jam Shovel for 20,000, and to the left-hand side of it, you will find the Jar of Jam for 2,200. Make sure that you do purchase both of these at the same time to really get the absolute most from the shovel, assuming you are taking this path. The reason that I say that is because at this moment, there is technically 3 different ways that you can go, and it's sort of different for everyone, if I'm going to be completely honest. In my case, I did go with the jam shovel. Oh man, I'm missing out on this blue moon. But anyways, there actually is, as I mentioned before, 2 other options that you can go that are, again, 100% optional. For the first option, it is actually completely RNG, and that, of course, is the candlelight shovel. The primary issue with this is that you are sort of missing out on the really big haste bonuses that the jam shovel is going to be giving you. The benefits, on the other hand, are that this one does a lot more damage to bosses if you are planning to take part in that, and of course, the fact that it almost has double the amount of strength. But again, as I mentioned before, this one is purely RNG. You have to go ahead and fight the Candlelight Phantom, and it is only a 40% chance to be able to get this shovel. Personally, this is the path that I took, but then again, the only reason that I did that is because the jam shovel was nerfed at the time. I'll show you guys where you're going to pretty much be fighting this boss in case you're interested in getting it yourself. But as soon as you see the boss spawn, it is going to be in the rooftop woodlands. Once you travel up these 2 little hills right over here, it's actually really easy to find them. On top of that, you're also going to have like a giant sign here on the side that says its name. But as soon as you come up to the top, you're going to see this little camp. Just sort of drive behind here, and this is sort of like the spawning point for the boss. Again, I don't personally recommend that you take this path with the current meta in the game, but it is completely up to you. Maybe you are interested more in having that boss damage, even though technically speaking, there is a better option when it comes to fighting bosses that is kind of a lot easier to get, being obviously the Slayer shovel. Very easy. All you need to do is just go ahead and complete 5 of the Combat Guild quests that are honestly very simple. At that point, rather than doing 45 boss damage, you'll be doing a solid 80 damage. Now, the third option here is going to be the one that a lot of people have sort of turned to, but you do have to keep in mind that this is a far larger price, meaning that it is going to be setting you back a large amount to be able to purchase probably one of the biggest things for your entire journey, being the prismatic shovel. I'm sort of getting ahead of myself, but specifically the shovel that I'm talking about is the frigid shovel. This one is 75,000 cash, which again is going to set you back a lot. I personally never purchased this frigid shovel, and till this day I do not own it. With that being said, I'm not saying that it is a bad option. It's just a really expensive one, and probably something that I would recommend more to a casual player because it does have some pretty good stats on it. On top of that, it also has a really good modification that sells for 1.8x. In case you're interested in this shovel, I'm going to show you exactly where you can get your hands on it. But for this, we are going to be traveling a really far distance. We're going all the way up to Mount Cinder. So from here, we're just going to go ahead and turn around, and we're pretty much just going to follow this path. It is going to break left and right sometimes. Like for example, here it breaks over to where the wizard is, but we're just going to ignore that, and we're just going to keep going straight. There's actually a quick little pit stop that we're going to take here as we're going up Mount Cinder, because I want to show you guys something else in case you're interested. Right over here, we have Tom's Bakery. If you guys remember earlier when we were talking about the jam shovel, which specifically right now is the one that we're talking about that I recommend the absolute most over these 2, being the candlelight and the frigid. If you remember correctly, over here I told you guys that you could purchase the jar of jam or the jar of peanut butter. I don't recommend the jar of peanut butter, but if you're interested in finding out where it is, it's inside of here, right on this table. This is a control and jump power focused charm. It's kind of like not that good. Even if you are going for a control focused build, this is not a good option, but I thought I'd go ahead and squeeze it in for you guys in case you're interested and you were looking for it. Either way, let's continue down this path and make our way up to Mount Cinder so I can show you where to get this frigid shovel. All right, so here we are. We've made it to the very top. As soon as you arrive to this little town here, you're just going to go ahead and make a right. You can't miss it. There's all these icicles over here. Just drive inside of this location and you are now in the Glacial Hollow. I'm really sorry that everything is extremely blue right now. It's like this area is blue, and on top of that, there's also a blue moon active right now. So it's a bit much, but just kind of bear with me here. So as mentioned before, this is the entrance right over here. If as soon as you come in, you make a left-hand turn all the way in the back here, you're going to get to this little section where you kind of are forced to jump out of your vehicle. Just go ahead and travel all the way down here. Sort of follow along. You'll have to make a right at some point here. Then you just pretty much continue all the way to the end, and you literally cannot miss it. It is dug right into the ice. As mentioned before, this is 75,000, so it is a huge difference compared to the 22,000 that you would save by just purchasing the jam shovel. But of course, let me go ahead and actually equip this and show you guys. The stats are a very, very big difference. Once again, you're getting more boss damage, but you are sort of sacrificing that huge haste bonus that the jam shovel can provide, as well as a little bit of control, but you're gaining a huge lump sum of luck and a fairly decent upgrade on the strength. Overall, the real selling point of the frigid shovel is going to be that 30% modification that sells for 1.8x. Now, I know that it kind of sounds like I'm trying to sell you on this entire frigid, but I still do not recommend that you get it. This is more of just an optional path that you can go ahead and take. Maybe you're one of these people that are a casual player, or maybe you're just sort of like impatient and you really like to have upgrades. Personally, I went from the jam shovel all the way to the prismatic, which is our next shovel on the list. This one is a huge leap. I'm not going to lie to you, man. It is going to cost you 250,000. Besides that, it is once again sort of an RNG thing. It's a little bit more forgiving now if you do have Robux, because you can sort of re-roll over and over again the traveling merchant, which is where you are going to be getting this. So just pretty much be aware of the traveling merchant. He actually isn't spawned in my server right now, but he has multiple different locations where he can spawn in. As of the recent Blood Moon update, they did increase the value of this to 300k, but due to the fact that everyone in the community was complaining, they did bring it back down to 250k. So very good option. I used this for a really long time. If you notice, I have 1,367 items digged with this. I pretty much used this shovel all the way until I got to the best shovel in the entire game, being the Starfire shovel. So yes, this is the final phase of this entire list. And honestly, it's probably one of the more complex ones, because you do have a lot of different steps that you need to take in order to purchase the Starfire. For starters, you need to defeat the final boss, which is the Molten Monstrosity. The problem with this is that in order to even get to the Molten Monstrosity, you have to complete an entire quest line that is actually fairly lengthy and kind of challenging. So let's go ahead and assume that you already have your prismatic shovel. You're ready to go ahead and move on. We've gone ahead and traveled back to Foxtown because we're heading on over to Cinder Shores once again. If you remember, this is where we purchased the ruby shovel, and hey, look, here is actually the traveling merchant. He does not have it right now, but as I mentioned before, with the recent update now, you can go ahead and re-roll if you have Robux. It's 45 Robux each. And currently in the game, there's a code that you can use called I'm Secret Code, just like how I have it written right here. And that code gives you a free reroll. So hopefully that helps you out and you're able to get the prismatic shovel. Either way, back on topic here. As soon as we get to Cinder Shores, instead of going left for the shop over there, we're going to go right this time to the ferry. For this, it's fairly simple. Just go ahead and park your vehicle right here. Jump out of the vehicle, talk to the dude under the umbrella. He's going to charge you 3,000 in order to get over to Cinder Island. Pay him the 3,000. In the bottom right-hand side, you're going to see a blue ticket appear right next to whatever the weather is. So right there, you know that you have your ticket. You're good to go. Just stand here on the ferry, wait for this countdown to get to 0, and you will get to the second island. Now, in the second island, it is sort of like a linear island. It isn't really sort of like open world. The first island also is kind of linear as well. But basically, you're going to travel through all of Copper Mesa and make it over to Alona. It's pretty much a straight shot, so just sort of take the entire path until you get to the jungle area. Now, once you arrive to this point right here where it says Alona Jungles, you are going to make a left-hand turn. Follow this path right here where you will fall into a village. At this village, talk to the tribe's leader right over here, and he's going to give you the starting quest to the magma boots. I'm not going to lie to you, man. It's going to take you some time. It will probably take you a couple of days, if anything, but at the end of it all, it'll be very much worth it because you'll be rewarded with the magma boots. These boots must be worn at all times when you enter inside of the volcano. If you do not have them on, you can't enter. So from the village, we just exited right over there. Let's make an instant left. And now we are technically inside of Mount Charcoal, which is the volcano area. This is all pretty straightforward, man. You're probably going to need an entire group and everything. There really is no need for me to sort of walk you through this because your group will more than likely do that for you already as it is. But anyways, here we are at the very end at the boss. Again, this is something that you're probably going to need a full group for. So it truly just isn't that important for me to explain. The point is that you need to go ahead and defeat this boss in order to get the final shovel. Now let's assume that at this point you've gone ahead and completed taking out the molten monstrosity and you are absolutely excited. You're ready to go ahead and purchase your Starfire shovel. Now I need to inform you of the next portion, which is another unfortunate reality, and that is the fact that this shovel costs 600,000 cash, and you can only obtain this from a meteor shower. So yes, a meteor shower has to be active in order for you to go ahead and purchase this, and it isn't even guaranteed because in total, 4 different items can spawn in a meteor. If you're lucky enough to actually get a meteor to spawn in that has the Starfire, then of course you can just go ahead and make your way over to the meteor and purchase it. It isn't a one-time purchase thing. If a meteor falls in your server and it has the shovel, multiple people can buy it until that meteor despawns. Now, of course, meteors can happen completely random, but if you have a lot of money, maybe you're doing boss farming or something like that, you can go ahead and make your way over here to the Cinder Caverns. And there's actually a location where you can purchase a horn to actually spawn in some of these meteor showers. It isn't cheap. It actually is 300,000 every single time that you buy one of these horns. But I'll show you guys really quickly where this is. So let's go ahead and purchase our elevator here. Of course, wait until the countdown goes down. Once down here, you're basically gonna make your way over to the spider boss. It's actually really easy to get here, even though a lot of people get lost all the time. Basically, as soon as you make it in here, make your first left. And then over here, instead of going to the left side, go ahead and go to the right side. If I can just get around this corner, that'd be fantastic. As I was saying, then once you are at the next sort of like V area, just look for the spider webs. There's one over here on the left side. So make a left and then make your first right. And you're basically right over here at where the spider boss is. You'll know because there's spider webs everywhere. As soon as you arrive here, you just keep going past the spider. There is a spider boss right there. Make a quick little turn right up here. And right on this rock, you will find the Radiant Horn for 300,000. Yeah, it's expensive. I'm actually going to purchase one because I need it. I'm actually doing journal farming, so technically I need that 3x luck. But yeah, man, it's pretty straightforward. That is the entire guide. Once you do have the Starfire shovel, you're pretty much good to go. At that point, you just rack up money, buy yourself the Beast Slayer for boss fights. It does 100 damage. On top of that, it also has a really, really nice passive that does even more damage on top of that. And unlike every single other one of the boss shovels in the game, this one has a charm synergy that also contributes to the boss battles. But yeah, man, as of the time being, with the content that we have in the game right now, this is the current progression. It is exactly how I did it. Just, of course, the only sort of confusing part is the jam, the candlelight, as well as the frigid. That is really completely up to you. There is no wrong answer there. So if you do decide to take the frigid route, don't think that you did anything wrong. You're just going to have to wait a little bit longer to purchase that prismatic. Either way, as I mentioned before, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys in the next one and hopefully tomorrow for another live stream. Take care, guys.